Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Hello everyone. Welcome back to the PL-300 exam preparation series where we are now going to look at the practice questions. So far, these are the topics that have been covered before this particular video. So the topics that have been covered include identify and connect to a data source, change data source settings including credentials, privacy levels and data source locations, select appropriate column data types, evaluate data including data statistics and column properties, create and transform columns, resolve inconsistencies, unexpected or null values, and data quality issues, identify when to use reference or duplicate queries and the resulting impact, and lastly, resolve data import errors. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to spend some time solving practice questions which are on the same pattern as the question appear in the PL-300 exam. Before I actually go and explain the questions and we solve those questions, there are a few points to remember which probably have not been covered in the videos because these are just one-liners that you just need to keep in mind, and maybe there is some kind of a question that can come. So there is no concept related to any of this, but you just need to remember that if something comes or one of the options is there on any questions, then this point will be helpful in solving that question. So the first point is that if you want to connect to data that is being used or shared by the Microsoft Power Platform applications, then Dataverse is the connector that you will use to connect to the data or the app. So it happens in case of Microsoft platform that Dataverse is a common platform that is used to store the data that is either being created or stored through any of these applications. So we have, I think, slightly touched this topic that Power Platform includes Power Automate, Power Apps, Power BI is also a part of this, and a few other applications. So if you have a situation where you want to connect to the data generated or hosted by any of the Power Platform applications, then Dataverse is the connector to actually use inside the Power Query Editor. Similarly, there is another point that if you do not find a custom connector for a database, then you can use the ODBC connector to connect to any database. So there are a few databases that are not supported as a separate connector inside Power Query. So I remember Cassandra is probably one of those, and there might be a few other databases, but you do not have to worry if you cannot find a connector for a particular database. Then you can use the ODBC connector. So just go in Power Query Editor and use the ODBC connector, pass the credentials, and you can connect to any database. And lastly, if you are unable to find any connector, regardless of the database or any other data source, then the Microsoft Power Query also comes with a software development kit, and this software development kit can be used to generate any custom connector. So just go and read about this Power Query software development kit, and remember that this can be used to connect to any data source if the connector is not available. So now let's go to the questions. So what we will be doing is that we are going to solve 20 questions. So I'll be just reading out a particular question, then I'm going to pause the video, and I will suggest you to also pause a video, have a go at the question, try to solve the question yourself, select the right answer, and then you can also judge how your preparation is going to is working right now. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to read out the question, then I'm going to just show the option, and then I'm going to explain why this is the right option. Question 2. So the question 2 states, for the sales department at your company, you are developing a Power BI report that imports data from Microsoft Excel files located in a Microsoft SharePoint folder. Which type of data connector should you use? And the four options are SharePoint folder, Power BI dataset, Excel workbook, Power BI data flows. The answer to this question is option A, which says that SharePoint folder is the correct option. So we have actually covered this in a lot of detail. There is an exclusive video on this, that whenever you have something in a SharePoint folder, the connector that you're going to use is the SharePoint folder connector in Power Query Editor. Question 3. So the question 3 states, you are profiling data by using Power Query Editor. You have a table named reports that contains a column named state, you see that there are 69 distinct and 4 unique values in the result. Also, 4% of the values are empty. The question says that you have to fill in the blank with the correct choice based on this particular scenario, which is given here. There are dash different values in state, including nulls, and the 4 options are 65, 69, 4, and 73. So the correct answer for this question is option B, which says that there are 69 different or distinct values in state, including null. So here you have to actually just look at the statement. So the statement says that you have to point out different values, including the null. So we know that the different values means that the distinct values are being asked. So 69 is the correct answer because we have 69 distinct values. Question 4. So question 4 is actually the same statement. So we have the same statement as question 3, but the question here is different. And the question states that there are dash non-null values in state that occur only once in state. So the correct answer is option C, and this is 4 non-null values in state that occur only once. So here the important thing to note here is this part which says that only once. So we know that only once are the values that are unique values. So that is why option C is the correct answer for this particular question. Question 5. You have a Microsoft SharePoint online site that contains several document libraries. One of the document libraries contains manufacturing reports saved as Microsoft Excel files. All the manufacturing reports have the same data structure. You need to use Power Query Editor to load the manufacturing reports for analysis from the desired folders libraries. What should you do? So we have a scenario that is given here, that we have a Microsoft SharePoint online site and we have libraries or folders, and then there are Microsoft Excel files that are saved there. So what we have to do in order to load the manufacturing report? So the given answers include get data from a SharePoint folder and enter the site URL, select transform, then filter by the folder path to the manufacturing reports library. Option B states get data from a SharePoint list and enter the site URL, select combine and transform, then filter by the folder path to the manufacturing reports library. Option C states get data from a SharePoint folder, enter the site URL, and then select combine and load. The option D says get data from a SharePoint list, enter the site URL, and then select combine and load. So the correct answer for this is option A. To filter for the specified folder, you need to select the folder library. So remember, once we connected to the SharePoint folder in the video, then we also needed to further go and browse for the particular folder and library. And the only option that actually talks about this is this option, which is option A, where you have to filter by the folder path. Rest of the options, they do not list this particular option. So that is why option A is the correct answer. Question 6. In Power Query, you want to replace null values in a column with a specified value. Which M function should you use in the M script? So the 4 options include table.replace value, table.replace nulls, table.replace rows, table.replace error values. So the correct answer for this is table.replace value, because this is the function that is used in the M language, or the M function that is used in the M script. So these functions are effectively, I think these 3 functions do not even exist in the M library. So the only option which is correct is this replace value. So like I said, that some of the transformations which are very common, so like where you change the data type, where you actually create a new column, where you replace a value, you need to just remember the names of those functions, so that if this kind of a question appears where the values, they are like they seem logical, but actually these functions actually do not exist. So you have to actually see that, okay, which is the right M function that can be used in such a scenario. Question 7. You have a prospective customer list that contains 1500 rows of data. The list contains the following fields. So these are the fields in the data. So you import the list into Power Query Editor. You need to ensure that the list contains records for each state region to which you want to target a marketing campaign. So this is the column that we are actually focusing on, and the question says that you have to pick two actions that need to be performed. So these are the five options: open the advanced editor, select column quality, enable column profiling based on the entire data set, select column distribution, and select column profile. So the correct answer is C and E. So if I go back, so why we have selected C and E? Because obviously the thing to remember here is that there are 1500 rows. So the by default view is 1000 rows. So you will go and you will click on the column profiling on option and select the column profiling based on the entire data set. And then this information that shows the names or the details of each state and region, these can only be seen through the column profile. Column distribution does not give you a detail of what is inside a particular column. You just get what is unique and what is distinct. So the option that you need to select is the column profile option. Question 8. You have a CSV file that contains user complaints. The file contains a column named logged. Logged contains the date and time for each complaint occurred. The data in logged is in the following format. So this is the format of the data. You need to be able to analyze the complaints by the log date and build a date table. Pick the two transformations to be done in the right order. So we have to pick the two transformations and also the right order or the right sequence. So the four options are: apply a transformation to extract the last 11 characters of the logged column and set the data type of the new column to date; change the data type of the logged column to date; split the logged column by using at as the delimiter; apply a transformation to extract the first 10 characters of the logged column. So the answer for this question is D and B. First, we are going to perform option B, and then we are going to perform transformation in option B. So D and B, and the explanation says that the first 10 characters represent the date which needs to be extracted, and then the column data type needs to be changed to date. So first we have to come here and we have to select the first 10 characters which actually make the date. So these are the first 10 characters. So of the option D actually just says this. Once you have applied a transformation to extract the date, then all you need to do is that you need to go in the data type and you have to change the data type of the column to date. So these are the two transformations, and the right sequence is first D and then B. Question 10. To connect to a data source that requires authentication, which of the following authentication methods can be used in Power BI? The four options are basic, OAuth 2, API key. Option 4 is all of the above. So the correct answer is option D, and we have a complete video where all the possible authentication methods are covered. So basic, OAuth 2, API key are all valid authentication methods. So that is why all of the above or option D is the correct answer. Question 11. You are setting up a connection to a SharePoint online list from Power Query. Your organization requires that you authenticate using your corporate credentials managed by the Azure Active Directory. Which authentication method should you use? The four options are organizational account, Windows authentication, basic authentication, anonymous authentication. The correct answer is organizational account, which is option A. And the explanation says that the organizational account option uses Azure Active Directory for authentication, which is appropriate for corporate credentials in a SharePoint online environment. And we actually did this once we were connecting to SharePoint, and we saw that we use the organizational account credential. So this is the right answer for this particular question. Question 12. In Power Query, privacy levels are used to control access to the specified data sources, determine how data is stored in the Power BI service, prevent unauthorized user from viewing sensitive data, control how data from different sources can be combined. The correct answer is option D. And the explanation says that the privacy levels in Power Query are used to control how data from different sources can be combined, preventing potential data leaks or unwanted data exposure between sources. So we have a complete video on privacy levels, and we have seen that this is important when the different data sources need to be combined, and we set the privacy levels to actually control this particular process. So option D is the right answer. Question 13. Which of the following privacy levels allows data from a source to be combined with data from any other source? And the four options include private, organizational, public, and confidential. The correct answer is option C, and the explanation says that the public privacy level allows data from a source to be combined with data from any other source regardless of the other source's privacy levels. So we have seen this once we were discussing privacy levels. So confidential is no privacy level. So the valid privacy levels are private, organizational, and public. And for the condition that has been explained in this question, option C, which is the public privacy level, is the correct answer. Question 14. In Power BI Desktop, you are updating an existing report that connects to a Microsoft SQL Server database. You can use database SQL authentication credentials to connect to the source. The last credentials that were entered are expired. You need to update the credentials. So the credentials are SQL authentication, and we need to update the credentials. Which two actions should you perform in sequence? So you have to select two actions and also the right sequence. The four options are: open the data source settings dialog box and locate the data source, select edit permissions and enter new credentials, open the get data dialog box and make a new connection to the database, open the options dialog box and allow data previews to download in the background. So the correct answer is A and B. First we will perform step A, and then we are going to perform step B. And the explanation says that first you go to the data source settings and then change the credentials. So this is very obvious from the options which are given here, A and B. Option C requires you to go and select get data, so we do not need to go and make a new connection, and this option has nothing to do with the data source credentials. So these are the two right options where we first perform option A and then we actually go and perform option B. Question 15. So here, this is an image-based question. So there is a scenario that has been given from the Power Query. This is the image that is there. So this image will be used to solve this. So the statement says that you are working in Power Query editor and the query you are working on gets CSV files from a folder. You see the following figure. How many CSV files are in the folder? So the four options are 90, 10, 9 and 1000. So the correct answer is option C, and it says that there are total 9 CSV files in the folder. So if you have a look at the diagram or the figure, it is actually focusing on the date column. So you see that here the date column is highlighted, but the question is not related to the date column, it is actually related to the CSV file. So that information is inside the source.name column. And here clearly you can see that the 9 distinct shows that there are total 9 files. So this is again a scenario which is very, very simple, but it creates a distraction where you actually just start to focus on the date column because here it is highlighted. So make sure that you read the question correctly. And this is a very, very simple question, but you can easily get distracted by just having a look at the details presented here. So these details are irrelevant and you just have to look here and this column and just have to focus on this particular value. Question 17. So this is a figure based question. So you have a figure which is actually from the Power Query, and you are seeing an error. And here the question says that you have to select one selection from these areas. So you have two areas here. One is this area, one is this area. And the statement here says that the answer is caused by dash. So you have to pick one option to actually fill this blank, and the options are error values in the source data, mismatched data types, null values. And then the second part is the desired outcome of the custom column is, again this is a blank, and you have to pick from these three options, which are 1A, A and 1A1. So the answer for this question is shown here. So for the first area, we have the mismatched data type. So it says that the error is caused by mismatched data types. And for the second part, the desired outcome of the custom column is A1. So what actually the error is showing is that the operator and, which is the concatenation operator, cannot be applied to the text and number. So you need to have both options, both data types need to be text. So that is why the error, the cause of the error is the mismatched data types. And what the person is trying to do, what is the, what is the what the end result is going to be, that instead of having different data types, if you have both a text data type and you have apply the concatenation operator, then the result should be a concatenation of A and 1, and that is why the option C is actually the right answer. So here you again see that there is an image based question where you are given a scenario based on an image, and you have to actually solve this particular question. Question 20. You have imported a dataset into Power Query and performed several steps to clean the data. You realize that you need to perform two different types of analysis that require divergent transformation paths after the initial cleanup. To maintain performance and ensure that the initial cleanup steps are applied to both analysis types, what should you do? And the four options given are: use duplicate immediately after the cleanup steps and develop each analysis path separately; use reference after the cleanup steps for each analysis to avoid unnecessary duplication of data. Option C is continue with one set of transformations and then use reference at the end for the second analysis type. Last option is use reference for the first analysis and duplicate for the second analysis to keep them linked to the source. The correct answer to this question is option B, which is use reference after the cleanup steps for each analysis to avoid unnecessary duplication of data. And the explanation here says that the reference creates a new query that reflects the transformations of the original query without duplicating the data, which is ideal when diverging transformation paths are needed after a custom set of initial steps. So this is what is written here, that you have to ensure that the initial cleanup steps are applied to both the analysis types. So that is only achievable with reference. If we select duplicate, then obviously the steps are duplicated for all the queries that you create using duplicate. So that is why option B is the right answer for this particular question. So we have solved in this video the 20 questions, and these questions are similar to the questions that you can expect on the PL-300 exam. So make sure that you go through these questions, make notes, make points of all the doubts or all the concepts that have been explained in this particular video. And now you can go and solve another 20 questions which are given as part of the reference material after this particular video. Make sure that you first solve the questions, and then there is an answer sheet also, and then you can go and see and check whether the question that you have, the answer that you have picked for that particular question is correct or not. So make sure that you first solve the questions and you have actually watched all the prior videos that are relevant to this particular section. So that is all for this first practice video session, and I'll catch up with you in the next video.